Thank you for joining us.
Tonight, with just over a month to go until Election Day, the first and only meeting between the two men who hope to become Vice President of the United States, Democratic Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota and Republican Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio.
Now, this is likely the final debate of this election cycle, and voting is already underway in 20 states. CBS News polling shows this remains a race either presidential candidate could win. The CBS News vice presidential debate starts now.
Fight for every single vote, and we're going to take this country back.
And we are ready to continue to build the future together.
We're going to turn this whole country red with President Donald J. Trump's leadership.
You know, it's at the end of this little journey. Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States.
This is a CBS News special, live from CBS News headquarters in New York. America Decides.
Are you guys ready for this?
Presidential debate.
Oh, you're such a sweetie.
Good evening, I'm Nora O'Donnell, and
Metric Goldings for the Rose.
Tonight's CBS News Vice Presidential Debate. We want to welcome our viewers on CBS, on other networks here in the U.S. and around the world. We have a consequential night ahead, and our focus is the issues that matter to you, the voter. Let's introduce the candidates. Minnesota's Democratic Governor Tim Walz and Ohio's Republican Senator J.D. Vance, tonight meeting for the first time.
I'm Margaret Brennan. In order to have a thoughtful and civil debate, these are the rules that both campaigns have agreed to. Questions will be directed at one candidate, who will have 2 minutes to respond. The other candidate will be allowed 2 minutes for rebuttal. Then each candidate will get another minute to make further points, with an additional 1 minute each at the discretion of the moderator. The primary role of the moderators is to facilitate the debate between the candidates, enforce the rules, and provide the candidates with the opportunity to fact-check claims made by each other.
CBS News reserves the right to mute the candidates' microphones to maintain decorum. We have not shared the questions or topics with the campaigns. The stage is set. Governor, Senator, thank you for joining us. Let's get started. Tonight, our country is facing several unfolding crises. The Middle East is on the brink of war. Americans are suffering from the catastrophic impact of Hurricane Helene. And now a labor strike as 25,000 dock workers from Maine to Texas are picketing. We're going to begin tonight with the Middle East. Margaret.
Thank you, Nora.
What?
Earlier today, Iran launched its largest attack yet on Israel, but that attack failed, thanks to joint U.S. and Israeli defensive action. President Biden has deployed more than 40,000 U.S. military personnel and assets to that region over the past year to try to prevent a regional war. Iran is weak.
Real double H out.
But the U.S. still considers it the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world, and it has drastically reduced the time it would take to develop a nuclear weapon. It is down now to 1 or 2 weeks' time. Governor Walz, if you were the final voice in the Situation Room, would you support or oppose a preemptive strike by Israel on Iran? You have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you. And thank you for those joining at home tonight. Let's keep in mind where this started. October 7th, Hamas terrorists massacred over 1,400 Israelis and took prisoners. Israel's ability to be able to defend itself is absolutely fundamental. Getting its hostages back, fundamental, and ending the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. But the expansion of Israel and its proxies is an absolute fundamental necessity for the United States to have the steady leadership there. You saw it experienced today, where along with our Israeli partners and our coalition, able to stop the incoming attack. But what's fundamental here is that steady leadership is going to matter. It's clear, and the world saw it on that debate stage a few weeks ago, a nearly 80-year-old Donald Trump talking about crowd sizes is not what we need in this moment. But it's not just that. It's those that were closest to Donald Trump that understand how dangerous he is when the world is this dangerous. His chief of staff, John Kelly, said that he was the most flawed human being he'd ever met. And both of his secretaries of defense and his national security advisors said he should be nowhere near the White House. Now, the person closest to them,
Oh, you're such a
to
sweetie.
Donald Trump,
Trouble, thanks
said
for the
he's
team
unfit for the
bracelet.
highest office. That was Senator Vance. What we've seen out of Vice President Harris is we've seen steady leadership. We've seen a calmness that is able to draw on the coalitions to bring them together. Understanding that our allies, when our allies see Donald Trump turn towards Vladimir Putin, turn towards North Korea, when we start to see that type of fickleness around holding the coalitions together, we will stay committed. And as the Vice President said today we will protect our forces and our allied forces, and there will be consequences.
Governor, your time is up. Senator Vance, the same question. Would you support or oppose a preemptive strike by Israel on Iran? You have 2 minutes.
So, Margaret, I want to answer the question. First of all, thanks, Governor. Thanks to CBS for hosting the debate. And thanks, most importantly, to the American people who are watching this evening and caring enough about this country to pay attention to this vice presidential debate. I want to answer the question, but I want to actually give an introduction to myself a little bit because I recognize a lot of Americans don't know who either one of us are. I was raised in a working-class family. My mother
Progress, thanks for a subscription.
on the GI Bill after I enlisted in the Marine Corps and served in Iraq. And so I stand here asking to be your vice president with extraordinary gratitude for this country, for the air, for me to live my dream. And most importantly, I know that a lot of you are worried about the chaos in the world and the feeling that the American dream is unattainable. I want to try to convince you tonight over the next 90 minutes that if we get better leadership in the White
We don't platform those people here.
House, the American dream is going to be attainable once again. Now, to answer this particular question, we have to remember that as much as Governor Walz just accused Donald Trump of being an agent of chaos, Donald Trump actually delivered stability in the world. He did it by establishing effective deterrence. People who are afraid of stepping out of line. Iran, which launched this attack, has received over $100 billion and guns and assets thanks to the Kamala Harris administration. What do they use that money for? They use it to buy weapons.
What's up, Sultron?
Against the United States as well. Donald Trump recognized that for people to secure the United States and peace to strengthen, we need to recognize that
Information hiding for the dolphin.
states are holding leadership with important stability and peace. You asked about a political strike. To answer the question, it is up to Israel what they think they need to do to keep their country safe. And we should support our allies wherever they are when they're fighting the bad guys. I think that's the right approach to take with the other question.
Thank you, Senator. Governor Walz, do you care to respond to any of the allegations?
Well, look, Donald Trump was in office. We'll sometimes hear a revision of history, but when Donald Trump was in office, it was Donald Trump who we had a coalition of nations that had boxed Iran's nuclear program in, the inability to advance it. Donald Trump pulled that program and put nothing else in its place. So Iran is closer to a nuclear weapon than they were before because of Donald Trump's fickle leadership. And when Iran shot down an American aircraft in international airspace, Donald Trump tweeted, because that's the standard diplomacy of Donald Trump. And when Iranian missiles did fall near U.S. troops and they received traumatic brain injuries, Donald Trump wrote it off as headaches. Look, our allies understand that Donald Trump is fickle. He will go to whoever has the most flattery or where it makes sense to him. Steady leadership like you witnessed today, like you witnessed in April. Both Iranian attacks were repelled. Our coalition is strong, and we need the steady leadership that Kamala Harris is providing.
Senator Vance, the U.S. did have a diplomatic deal with Iran to temporarily pause parts of its nuclear program, and President Trump did exit that deal. He recently said, just 5 days ago, the U.S. must now make a diplomatic deal with Iran because the consequences are impossible. Did he make a mistake? You have 1 minute.
Well, first of all, Margaret, diplomacy is not a dirty word, but I think that's something that Governor Walz just said is quite extraordinary. You yourself just said Iran is as close to a nuclear weapon today as they have ever been. And Governor Walz, you blamed Donald Trump. He has been the vice president for the last years, and the next one's your runway, not mine. Donald Trump consistently made the world more secure. Now, we talk about the sequence of events that led us to where we are right now, and you cannot ignore October the 7th, which I appreciate Governor Walz bringing up. But when did Iran and Hamas and their proxies attack Israel? It was during the administration of Kamala Harris. So Governor Walz can criticize Donald Trump's tweets, but effective, smart diplomacy and peace through strength is how you bring stability back to a very broken world. Donald Trump has already done it once before. Ask yourself, when was the last time, when was the last time that an American president didn't have a major conflict break out? The only answer is in the 4 years of Donald Trump's president.
Margaret, thank you. Let's turn now to Hurricane Helene. The storm could become one of the deadliest on record. More than 160 people are dead and hundreds more are missing. Scientists say climate change makes these hurricanes larger, stronger, and more deadly because of the historic rainfall. Senator Vance, according to CBS News polling, 7 in 10 Americans and more than 60% of Republicans under the age of 45 favor the U.S. taking steps to try and reduce climate change. Senator, what responsibility would the Trump administration have to try and reduce the impact of climate change? I'll give you 2 minutes.
Sure. So first of all, let's start with the hurricane, because it's an unbelievable, unspeakable human tragedy. I just saw today, actually, a photograph of 2 grandparents on a roof with a 6-year-old child. It was the last photograph ever taken of them because the roof collapsed, and there's innocent people lost their lives. I'm sure on the wall shows me our hearts go out to those innocent people, our prayers go out to them, and we want as robust and aggressive as a federal response as we can get to save as many lives as possible, and of course afterwards to help the people in those communities rebuild. And these communities that I love, some of them I know very personally, in Appalachia, all across the Southeast, they need their government to do their job, and I commit that when Donald Trump is president again, the government will put the citizens of this country first when they suffer from disaster. People are justifiably worried about all these crazy weather patterns. I think it's important for us, first of all, to say Donald Trump has support clean air, clean water. We want the environment to be cleaner and safer. But one of the things that I've noticed some of our Democratic friends talking a lot about is a concern about carbon emissions. This idea that carbon emissions drives all of the climate change. We're not arguing about weird science. Let's just say that's true. But we can't believe that. And you want to produce as much energy as possible in the United States of America because we have the cleanest economy in the entire world. What has Kamala Harris's policies actually led to? More energy production in China, more manufacturing overseas, more doing business in some of the dirtiest parts of the entire world. And when I say that, I mean the amount of...
Do you suffer from a lack of a father figure?
So we actually care about getting cleaner air and clean water. The best thing to do is to double down on investing in American workers and people, and unfortunately, Kamala Harris has done exactly the opposite.
Governor Walz, you have 2 minutes to respond.
Well, we got close to an agreement because all those things are happening. Look, first of all, it is a horrific tragedy with this hurricane, and my heart goes out to the folks that are down there in contact with the governors. I serve as co-chair of the Council of Governors as we work together on these emergency managements. Governors know no partisanship. They work together to all of the governors and the emergency responders are on the ground. Those happen on the front end. The federal government comes in, makes sure they're there so that we recover, but we're still in that phase where we need to make sure that they're staying there, staying focused. Now look, coming back to the climate change issue, there's no doubt this thing roared onto the scene faster and stronger than anything we've seen. Senator Vance has said that there's a climate problem in the past. Donald Trump called it a hoax and then joked that these things would make more beachfront property to be able to invest in. What we've seen out of the Harris administration now, the Biden-Harris administration, is we've seen this investment. We've seen massive investments, the biggest in global history that we've seen in the Inflation Reduction Act, has created jobs all across the country. 2,000 in Jeffersonville, Ohio, taking the EV technology that we invented and making it here. 200,000 jobs across the country. The largest solar manufacturing plant in North America sits in Minnesota. But my farmers know climate change is real. They've seen 500-year droughts, 500-year floods back to back. But what they're doing is adapting, and this has allowed them to tell me, look, I harvest corn, I harvest soybean, I harvest gas of oil at any time we've ever had. We're also producing more energy. So the solution for us is to continue to move forward, that climate change is real. Reducing our impact is absolutely critical, but this is not a false choice. You can do that at the same time you're creating the jobs that we're seeing all across the country. That's exactly what this administration has done. We are seeing us becoming an energy superpower for the future, not just the current. And that's what absolutely makes sense. And then we start thinking about how do we mitigate these disasters.
Thank you. Senator, I want to give you an opportunity to respond there. The governor mentioned that President Trump has called climate change a hoax. Do you agree?
Well, what the president has said is that if the Democrats, in particular Kamala Harris and her leadership, they really believe that climate change is serious, what they would be doing is more manufacturing and more energy production in the United States of America, and that's not what they're doing. So clearly Kamala Harris herself doesn't believe in rhetoric on this. If she did, she'd actually agree with Donald Trump's energy policy as well. So that's something Governor Walz said I think is important to touch upon, because when we talk about clean energy, I think that's a slogan that often especially the components that go into those solar panels. So if you really want to make the environment cleaner, you've got to invest in more energy production. We've been built to nuclear solar market 1 in the past 4 years. Natural gas,
emotional damage.
Raise energy prices also meant that we're doing
not folks that are Green New Deal folks. These are farmers that have been drought 1 year, massive flooding the next year. They understand that it makes sense. Look, our #1 export cannot be topsoil from erosion from these massive storms. We saw it in Minnesota this summer. And thinking about how do we respond to that, we're thinking ahead on this. And what Kamala Harris has been able to do in Minnesota, we're starting to weatherproof some of these things. The infrastructure law that was passed allows us to think about mitigation in the future. How do we make sure that we're protecting by burying our power lines? How do we make sure that we're protecting lakefronts and things that we're seeing more and more of? But to call it a hoax and to take the oil company executives to Mar-a-Lago, say, give me money for my campaign, and I'll let you do whatever you want. We can be smarter about that, and an all-above energy policy is exactly what she's doing, creating those jobs right here.
Happy to the team bracelet.
Your time is up. The overwhelming consensus among scientists is that the Earth's climate is warming at an unprecedented rate. Margaret?
Thank you, Nora. We're going to turn now to immigration. The crisis at the U.S.-Mexico border consistently ranks as one of the top issues for American voters. Senator Vance, your campaign is pledging to carry out the largest mass deportation plan in American history and to use the U.S. military to do so. Could you be more specific about exactly how this will work? For example, would you deport parents who have entered the U.S. illegally and separate them from any of their children who were born on U.S. soil? You have 2 minutes.
So first of all, Margaret, before we talk about deportations, we have to stop it. We have a historic immigration crisis because Kamala Harris started and said that she wanted to undo all of Donald Trump's border policies. Deportations, decriminalizing massively increasing the asylum fraud that exists in our system. That is quickly
Yeah.
care to respond to any of those specific allegations, including that the vice president is, quote, letting in fentanyl and using kids as drug mules, among other things regarding children?
The drug mule is not true, but I will say about this, about the fentanyl, because this is a crisis of this, the opioid crisis. And the good news on this is the last 12 months saw the largest decrease in opioid deaths in our nation's history. 30% decrease in Ohio, but there's still more work to do. But let's go back to this on immigration. Kamala Harris was the Attorney General of the largest state, a border state in California. She's the only person in this race who prosecuted transnational gangs for human trafficking and drug interventions. But look, we all want to solve this. Most of us want to solve this, and that is the United States Congress. That's the Border Patrol agents. That's the Chamber of Commerce. That's most Americans out here. That's why we had the fairest and the toughest bill on immigration that this nation's seen. It was crafted by a conservative senator from Oklahoma, James Lankford. I know him, he's super conservative, but he's a man of principle, wants to get it done. Democrats and Republicans worked on this piece of legislation. The Border Patrol said, this is what we need in here. These are the experts. And the Chamber of Commerce and the Wall Street Journal said, pass this thing. Kamala Harris helped get there. 1,500 new border agents, detection for drugs, DOJ money to speed up these the adjudications on this, just what America wants. But as soon as I was getting ready to pass and actually tackle this, Donald Trump said no, told them to vote against it because it gives him a campaign issue. It gives him what would Donald Trump talk about if we actually did some of these things? And they need to be done by the legislature. You can't just do this through the executive branch. So look, we have the options to do this. Donald Trump had 4 years. He had 4 years to do this. And he promised you, America, how easy it would be. I'll build you a big, beautiful wall, and Mexico will pay for it. Less than 2% of that wall got built, and Mexico didn't pay a dime. But here we are again, 9 years after he came down that escalator, dehumanizing people and telling them what he was going to do. As far as the deportation plan, at one point, Senator Vance said it was so unworkable to be laughable. So that's where we're at. Pass the bill, she'll sign it.
Governor, your time is up. Senator, the question was, will you separate parents from their children, even if their kids are U.S. citizens? You have 1 minute.
Margaret, my point is that we already have massive child separations thanks to Kamala Harris's open border. I didn't accuse Kamala Harris of inviting drug dealers. I said that she enabled Mexican drug cartels to operate through this country. We know that these children is drug dealers, and it has to stop. But then what Tim said just doesn't happen. For 3 years, Kamala Harris went out bragging that she was going to undo Donald Trump's border policy. She did exactly that. She says that
emotional damage.
She became the vice president. She became the Donald Trump's executive action. This is leading to massive problems in the United States of America. Parents who can't afford health care.
You've reached your limit on talking. You've reached your limit on talking. Shut the fuck up.
CBS News polling, which does show that a majority of Americans, more than 50%, support mass deportations.
Look, we fix this issue with a bill that is necessary, but the issue on this is what happens when you don't want to solve it. You demonize it. And we saw this, and Senator Vance, and it surprises me on this, talking about and saying, I will create stories to bring attention to this. That vilified a large number of people who were here legally in the community of Springfield. The Republican governor said, it's not true, don't do it. There's consequences for this. There's consequences. We could come together. Senator Lankford did it. We could come together and solve this if we didn't let Donald Trump continue to make it an issue. And the consequences in Springfield were the governor had to send state law enforcement to escort kindergartners to school. I believe Senator Vance wants to solve this, but by standing with Donald Trump and not working together to find a solution, it becomes a talking point. And when it becomes a talking point like this, we dehumanize other human beings.
Tim,
Governor, your time is up. Senator, I'll give you 1 minute, but let me just ask you the question first. The governor has made the point, and I think as a sitting lawmaker, you know that Congress controls the purse strings and any funding. So you have said repeatedly that Donald Trump would, through executive action, solve this? Do you disagree that Congress controls the purse strings and would need to support many of the changes that you would actually want to implement? You have 1 minute.
Look, Margaret, first of all, the gross majority of what we need to do with the southern border is just empowering law enforcement to do their job. I've been to the southern border more than our borders are. Kamala Harris has been. And it's actually heartbreaking because the Border Patrol agents, they just want to be empowered to do their job. Of course, additional resources will help. But most of this is about the president and the vice president empowering law enforcement to say, if you try to come across the border illegally, you've got to stay in Mexico, you've got to go back to the proper that is totally unaffordable because we've brought in millions of illegal immigrants to compete with Americans for scarce homes. The people that I'm most worried about in Springfield, Ohio are the American citizens who have had their lives destroyed by Kamala Harris's government. It is a disgrace, Tim. And I actually think, I agree with you. I think you want to solve this problem, but I don't think that Kamala Harris does.
Senator, your time is up. Governor, you have 1 minute to respond.
Yeah, well, it is law enforcement that asked for the bill. They helped craft it. They're the ones that supported it. That's because they know we need to do this. Look, this issue of continuing to bring this up, of not dealing with it, of blaming migrants for everything. On housing, we could talk a little bit about Wall Street speculators buying up housing and making them less affordable, but it becomes a blame. Look, this bill also gives the money necessary to adjudicate. I agree. It should not take 7 years for an asylum claim to be done. This bill gets it done in 90 days. Then you start to make a difference in this, and you start to adhere to what we know, American principles. I don't talk about my faith a lot, but Matthew 25:40 talks about, to the least amongst us you do unto me. I think that's true of most Americans. They simply want order to it. This bill does it. It's funded. It's supported by the people who do it, and it lets us keep our dignity about how we treat other people.
Thank you, Governor. And just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status, temporary protected status.
Well, Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn now to the economy. Thank you.
Margaret, the rules were that you guys were going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on. So there's an application called the CBP 1 app, where you can go on as an illegal migrant, apply for asylum or apply for parole, and be granted legal status.
What's up, Jace? How you doing? Oh, you're such a
that is not a person coming in and
Jace, thanks for the heart, me.
for 10 years. Thank
you, Senator.
Of illegal immigration, Margaret.
Thank you, Senator, for describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator.
Those laws have been on the books since 1990.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The
we
CBP
want to have
1 app has not been on the books.
Gentlemen, the audience can't hear you because your mics are cut. We have so much we want to get to. Thank you for the legal process.
Yes!
Thank you, Margaret.
Yes!
The economy is a top concern for voters. Each of your
You've reached your
campaigns
limit
has
on
an economic
talking.
plan, so let's
Shut
talk about
the fuck
specifics.
up.
Governor Walz, Vice President Harris unveiled a plan that includes billions in tax credits for manufacturing, housing, and a renewed child tax credit. The Wharton School says your proposals will increase the nation's deficit by $1.2 trillion. How would you pay for that without ballooning the deficit? Governor, I'll give you 2 minutes.
Yeah, thank you. And Kamala Harris and I do believe in the middle class because that's where we come from. We both grew up in that. We understand. So those of you out there listening tonight, you're hearing a lot of stuff back and forth. And it's fun time.
Real lemony water hours.
You should be listening.
What's up, lemony water?
Me. The bold forward plan that Kamala Harris put out there is talking about this housing issue. The one thing is there's 3 million new houses proposed under this plan with down payment assistance on the front end to get you in a house. A house is much more than just an asset to be traded somewhere. It's foundational to where you're at. And then making sure that the things you buy every day, whether they be prescription drugs or other things, that there's fairness in that. Look, the $35 insulin is a good thing, but it costs $5 to make insulin. They were charging $800 before this law went into effect. As far as the housing goes, I've seen it in Minnesota. 12% more houses in Minneapolis, prices went down on rent 4%. It's working. And then making sure tax cuts go to the middle class. $6,000 child tax credit, we have one in Minnesota, reduces childhood poverty by a third. We save money in the long run, and we do the right thing for families. And then getting businesses off the ground. The law as it stands right now is $5,000 tax credit for small business, increasing that to $50,000. Now, this is a philosophical difference between us. Donald Trump made a promise, and I'll give you this. He kept it. He took folks to Mar-a-Lago, said, you're rich as hell, I'm going to give you a tax cut. He gave the tax cuts that predominantly went to the top class. What happened there was an $8 trillion increase in the national debt, the largest ever. Now he's proposing a 20% consumption or sales tax on everything we bring in. Everyone agrees, including businesses, it would be destabilizing it would increase inflation and potentially lead to a recession. Look, this is simple for you. Where are we going? Kamala Harris has said to do the things she wants to do. We'll just ask the wealthiest to pay their fair share. When you do that, our system works best, more people are participating in it, and folks have the things that they need.
Senator, I want to give you a moment to respond on that. But similarly, the Wharton School has done an analysis of the Trump plan and says it would increase the nation's deficit by $5.8 trillion. My question is the same for you. How do you pay for all that without ballooning the deficit? I'll give you 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, you're going to hear a lot from Tim Walz this evening. You just heard it in the answer. A lot of what Kamala Harris proposes to do, and some of it, I'll be honest with you, it even sounds pretty good. Here's what we learned here. Get out! These great policies, and what she's actually done instead is drive the cost of living higher by 25%. By about 60%. Open the American southern border and make the middle class life unaffordable for a large number of Americans. Kamala Harris has such great plans for how to address middle class problems that she ought to do them now. Not when asking for a promotion, but in the job that American people have for 3.5 years. And the fact that she isn't tells you a lot about how much she trusts her actual plans. Donald Trump's economic plan is not just a plan, but it's also a record. A lot of those same economists attack Donald Trump's plans, and they have PhDs, but they don't have common sense, and they don't have wisdom. Because Donald Trump's economic policy is to deliver the highest take-home pay in a generation in this country, 1.5% inflation, and include peace and security all over the world. So when people say that Donald Trump's economic plan doesn't make sense, I say look at the record. Rising take-home pay for American workers. Now, Tim admirably admits that they want to undo the Trump tax cuts, but if you look at what was so different about Donald Trump's tax cuts, even from previous Republican tax cut plans, is that a lot of those resources went to giving more take-home pay to middle class and working class Americans. It was passed in 2017, and it's an American economic boom unlike we've seen in a generation in this country. That is a record that I'm proud to run, and we're going to get back to that common sense wisdom so that you can afford to live the American dream again. I know a lot of you are struggling. I know a lot of you are worried about paying the bill. It's going to stop when Donald Trump brings that common sense to the country. Well, Kamala Harris's day one was Donald Trump's failure on COVID that led to the collapse of our economy. We were already before COVID in a manufacturing recession, but 10 million people out of work, largest percentage since the Great Depression. 9 million jobs closed on that. That was day one, whether it was the Infrastructure Act or other things we moved. Now, you made a question about experts, said this. I've made a note of this. Economists can't be trusted. Science can't be trusted. National security folks can't be trusted. Look, if you're going to be president, you don't have all the answers. Donald Trump believes he does. My pro tip of the day is this. If you need heart surgery, listen to the people at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, not Donald Trump. And the same thing goes with this. And I ask you out there, teachers, nurses, truck drivers, whatever, how is it fair that you're paying your taxes every year and Donald Trump hasn't paid any federal tax in the last 15 years, the last year as president? That's what's wrong with the system. There's a way around it, and he's bragged about that. We're just asking for fairness in it, and that's all you want.
You have a minute.
Governor, you say trust the experts, but those same experts for 40 years said that if we shift our manufacturing base off to China, we get cheaper goods. They lied about that. They said we shift our industrial base off to other countries, to Mexico and elsewhere. They make the middle class stronger. They were wrong about the idea of making America less self-reliant, less self-productive, and that would somehow make us better off, and they were wrong about it. And for the first time in a generation, wisdom and the courage to say that we're not doing it anymore.
Do you suffer from a lack of a father figure?
Emotional damage!
Get out! To stop. And we're not going to stop it by listening to experts. We're going to stop it by listening to common sense wisdom, which is what Donald Trump
Voters say they trust Donald Trump on the economy more. Why?
Well, if you're listening tonight and you want billionaires to get tax cuts, you heard what the numbers were. Look, I'm a union guy on this.
Real
I'm
biscuit
not the guy
hours.
who wanted to
Zuko
ship
here.
things overseas, but I
What's up,
understand that
Biscuit? Welcome
we
in.
produce soybeans and corn. We need to have fair trading partners. That's something that we believe in. I think the thing that most concerns me on this is Donald Trump was
Thanks,
the guy
Chase.
who created the largest trade deficit in American history with China. So the rhetoric is good. Much of what the senator said right there, I'm in agreement with him on this. I watched it happen too. I watched it to my communities, and we talked about that. But we had people undercutting the right to collectively bargain. We had right to work states made it more difficult. We had companies that were willing to ship it over, and we saw people profit. Folks that are venture capital in some cases, putting money into companies that were overseas. We're in agreement that we bring those home. The issue is Donald Trump is talking about it. Kamala Harris has a record, 250,000 more manufacturing jobs just out of the IRA.
May I respond to that?
Yes.
So
I appreciate
that.
Like a Diddy party, so.
If you know Donald Trump has to become the expert. And then when the experts showed up, he said, well, Donald Trump didn't really do as good of a job as the CEO. That's what he did. So what Tim Walz is doing, and I honestly, Tim, I think he got a tough job.
Biscuit, thanks for the heart, me.
You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver lower inflation, which of course he did, and then you simultaneously got to defend Kamala Harris's atrocious economic record, which has made gas, groceries, and housing unaffordable for American citizens. I was raised by a woman who would sometimes go into medical debt so that she could put food on the table of our household. I know what it's like to not be able to afford the things that we need to afford. We can do so much better. All of you watching, you can get back to an America that's
Senator, Governor.
Please.
Thank you. Margaret?
We have a lot to get to ahead, gentlemen, on many topics. But right now, I want to talk about personal qualifications. The vice president is often the last voice the president hears before making consequential decisions. We want to ask you about your leadership qualities. Governor Walz, you said you were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year. Can you explain that discrepancy?
Yeah, well, and to the folks out there who didn't get at the top of this, look, I grew up in small rural Nebraska, town of 400, town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the streetlights come on, and I'm proud of that service. I joined the National Guard at 17, worked on family farm, and then I used the GI Bill to become a teacher, passionate about it, a young teacher. My first year out, I got the opportunity in the summer of '89 to travel to China. 35 years ago, to be able to do that. I came back home and then started a program to take young people there. We would take basketball teams, we would take baseball teams, we would take dancers, and we would go back and forth to China. The reason for that was just to try and learn. Now look, my community knows who I am. They saw where I was at. Look, I will be the first to tell you, I have poured my heart into my community. I've tried to do the best I can, but I've not been perfect. And I'm a knucklehead at times, but it's always been about that. Those same people elected me to Congress for 12 years. And in Congress, I was one of the most bipartisan people, working on things like farm bills that we got done, working on veterans benefits. And then the people of Minnesota were able to elect me to governor twice. So look, my commitment has been from the beginning to make sure that I'm there for the people, to make sure that I get this right. I will say more than anything, many times I will talk a lot, I will get caught up in the rhetoric, but being there, the impact it made, the difference it made in my life, I learned a lot about China. I hear the critiques of this. I would make the case that Donald Trump should have come on one of those trips with us. I guarantee you he wouldn't be praising Xi Jinping about COVID, and I guarantee you he wouldn't start a trade war that he ends up losing. So this is about trying to understand the world. It's about trying to do the best you can for your community, and then it's putting yourself out there and letting your folks understand what it is. My commitment, whether it be through teaching, which I was good at, or whether it was being a good soldier or was being a good member of Congress, those are the things that I think are the values that people care about.
Governor, just to follow up on that, the question was, can you explain the discrepancy?
All I said on this was I got there that summer and misspoke on this. So I will just, that's what I've said. So I was in Hong Kong and China during the democracy protests went in. And from that, I learned a lot of what needed to be in governance.
Thank you, Governor.
What's up, D. Rizzo?
Vance, in 2016, you called your running mate, Donald Trump, unfit for the nation's highest office, and you said he could be America's Hitler. I know you've been asked many times, and you've said you regret those comments and explained you then voted for Donald Trump in 2020. But the Washington Post reported new messages last week in which you also disparaged Trump's economic record while he was president, writing to someone in 2020, quote, Trump thoroughly failed to deliver his economic populism. You're now his running mate, and you've shifted many of your policy stances to align with his. If you become vice president, why should Americans trust that you will give Donald Trump the advice he needs to hear and not just the advice he wants to hear? You have 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, Margaret,
you shouldn't.
And sometimes, of course, I disagree with the president, but I've also been extremely open about the fact that I was wrong about Trump. I was wrong, first of all, because I believe some of the media stories that turned out to be dishonest fabrications of his record. But most importantly, Donald Trump delivered for the American people. Rising wages, rising take-home pay, an economy that worked for normal Americans, a secure southern border, a lot of things, frankly, that I
Real
didn't
bingo bongo hours.
And yeah, when you screw up, when you misspeak, when you get something wrong, and you
What's up, bingo bongo?
got to be honest with the American people about it. It's one of the reasons, Margaret, why I've done so many interviews, is because I think it's important to actually explain to the American people.
D. Rizzo, thanks for the gaming keyboard.
You pointed out the message in 2020.
Wow, gaming keyboard.
But I think there are a lot of things that we could have done better in the Trump administration in the first round.
It's just more propaganda, you guys.
I strongly believe, and I've been a United States senator, that Congress is not just a high-class debating society. It's not just a forum for senators and congressmen to whine about problems. It's a forum to govern. So there were a lot of things on the border, on tariffs, for example, where I think that we could have done so much more if the Republican Congress and the Democrats in Congress had been a little bit better about how they govern the country. They were so obsessed with impeaching Donald Trump, they couldn't actually govern. Right? I don't want to talk about this tariff issue in particular, Margaret, because...
Yeah, he doesn't acknowledge it at all. Yeah, I figured he wouldn't. He's not going to acknowledge anything in this. He does have that eyeliner on point, though. You're right.
Praising Joe Biden, but the one thing that Joe Biden did is he continued some of the Trump tariffs that protected American manufacturing jobs. And it's the one issue, the most pro-worker part of the Biden administration, it's the one issue where Kamala Harris has had to run away from Joe Biden. Of American workers, stands up for itself and says, you're not accessing our markets unless you're paying the cost of markets fairly.
Now to the issue of reproductive rights. Governor Walz, after Roe versus Wade was overturned, you signed a bill into law that made Minnesota one of the least restrictive states in the nation.
TV, thanks for the it's corn.
Former President Trump said in the last debate that you believe abortion, quote, in the 9th month is absolutely fine. Yes or no? Is that what you support? I'll give you 2 minutes.
That's not what the bill says, but look, this issue is what's on everyone's mind. Donald Trump put this all into motion. He brags about how great it was that he put the judges in and overturned Roe versus Wade, 52 years of personal autonomy. And then he tells us, oh, you send it to the states. It's a beautiful thing. Amanda Zaworski would disagree with you on it's a beautiful thing. A young bride in Texas waiting for their child at 18 weeks. She has a complication, a tear in the membrane. She needs to go in. The medical care at that point needs to be decided by the doctor. And that would have been an abortion. But in Texas, that would have put them in legal jeopardy. She went home, got sepsis, nearly dies, and now she may have difficulty having children. Or in Kentucky, Hadley Duvall, a 12-year-old child raped and impregnated by her stepfather. Those are horrific. Now, when God asked about that, Senator Vance said 2 wrongs don't make a right. There is no right in this. So in Minnesota, what we did was restore Roe versus Wade. We made sure that we put women in charge of their health care. But look, this is not where, if you don't know Amanda or a Hadley, you soon will. Their Project 2025 is going to have a registry of pregnancies. It's going to make it more difficult, if not impossible, to get contraception and limit access, if not eliminate access to infertility treatments. For so many of you out there listening, me included, infertility treatments are why I have a child. That's nobody else's business, but those things are being proposed. And the catch-all on this is, well, the states will decide what's right for Texas might not be right for Washington. That's not how this works. This is basic human rights.
Real like goal hours.
Maternal mortality skyrocket in Texas, outpacing many other countries in the world. This is about healthcare. In Minnesota, we are ranked first in healthcare for a reason. We trust women, we trust doctors.
Senator, do you want to respond to the governor's claim? Will you create a federal pregnancy monitoring agency?
No, Nora, certainly we won't. And I want to talk about this issue because I know a lot of Americans care about it. I know a lot of Americans don't agree with everything that I've ever said on this topic. And, you know, I grew up in a working class family in a neighborhood where I knew a lot of young women who had unplanned pregnancies and decided to terminate their pregnancy because they feel like they're
Emotional damage.
Do you suffer from a lack of a father figure?
You've reached your limit on talking. Shut the fuck up.
That talked about people eating dogs in Ohio. Everything that comes out of this man's mouth is literally a dog whistle. It's literally propaganda.
Restrictions.
Yeah, well, the question got asked, and Donald Trump made the accusation it wasn't true about Minnesota. Well, let me tell you about this idea that there's diverse states. There's a young woman named Amber Thurman. She happened to be in Georgia, a restrictive state. Because of that, she had to travel a long distance to North Carolina to try and get her care. Amber Thurman died in that journey back and forth. The fact of the matter is, how can we as a nation say that your life and your rights, as basic as the right to control your own body, is determined on geography? There's a very real chance, had Amber Thurman lived in Minnesota, she would be alive today. That's why the restoration of Roe versus Wade. When you listen to Vice President Harris talk about this subject and you hear me talk about it, you hear us talking exactly the same. Donald Trump is trying to figure out how to get the political right of this. I agree with a lot of what Senator Vance said about what's happening. His running mate, though, does not, and that's the problem.
Governor, your time is up. Senator, let me ask you about that. He mentioned, it was, I think, referring to a national ban. In the past, you have supported a federal ban on abortion after 15 weeks. In fact, you said if someone can't support legislation like that, quote, you are making the United States the most barbaric pro-abortion regime anywhere in the entire world. My question is, why have you changed your position?
Well, Nora, first of all, I never supported a national ban. I did, when I was running for Senate in 2022, talk about setting some minimum national standard. For example, we have a partial birth abortion ban in this place in this country at the federal level. I don't think anybody's trying to get rid of that, or at least I hope not. But I know
is Lemon. Lemon is Moxie.
Ohio, we had a referendum in 2023, and the people of Ohio voted overwhelmingly against the
You've reached your limit on talking. Shut the f.
Because we've got to do a better job. I'm going to respond on the pro-abortion piece of that. No, we're not. We're pro-women. We're pro-freedom to make your own choice. We know what the implications are to not be that. Women having miscarriages, women not getting the care, physicians feeling like they may be prosecuted for providing that care. And as far as making sure that we're educating our children and giving them options, Minnesota's a state with one of the lowest teen pregnancy rates. We understand that too. We know that the options need to be available, and we make that true. We also make it, we're a top 3 state for the best place to raise children. But these two things, to try and say that we're pro-children, but we don't like this, or you guys are pro-abortion, that's not the case at all. We are pro-freedoms for women to make their choices, and we're going, and Kamala Harris is making the case, to make options for children more affordable, a $6,000 child tax credit, but we're not going to base that on the backs of making someone like Amber Thurman drive 600 miles to try and get health care.
Senator?
May I respond to that? First of all, Governor, I agree with you. Amber Thurman should still be alive. There are a lot of people who should still be alive, but I certainly wish that she was. And maybe you're free to disagree with me on this and explain this to me, but as I read the Minnesota law you signed into the statute you signed into law, it says that a doctor who presides over an abortion where the baby survives, the doctor is under no obligation to provide life-saving care to a baby who survives a botched surgical abortion. Something there. This is a very simple proposition. These are women's decisions to make about their healthcare decisions, and the physicians who know best when they need to do this. Trying to distort the way a law is written to try and make a point, that's not it at all.
What was I wrong about, Governor? Please tell me. What was I wrong about?
That is not the way the law is written. I've given this advice on a lot of things, that getting involved, that's been misread, and it was fact-checked at the last debate. But the point on this is there's a continuation of these guys to try and tell women or to get involved. I use this line on this, just mind your own business on this. Things worked best when Roe versus Wade was in place. When we do a restoration of Roe, that works best. That doesn't preclude us from increasing funding for children. It doesn't increase us from making sure that once that child's born, like in Minnesota, they get meals. They get early childhood education. They get health care. So the hiding behind we're going to do all these other things when you're not proposing them in your budget. Kamala Harris is proposing them. She's proposing all those things to make life easier for families.
I asked a specific question, Governor. You gave me a slogan as a response.
It's not the case. It's not
You've
true.
reached your limit on talking.
So you fact check it with President Trump.
Gentlemen, there's a lot to discuss. We have to move on, and we're going to be right back with much more of the CBS News vice presidential debate in just a moment.
I see Tim Walz has made some good points.
Funky lemon she.
What's up, Will? Wow. We now bring you commercials of Skyline Chili.
When you wake up in the
Skyline Chili, please. Oh wait, actually, hold on, I got a better idea.
always on me to try Skyline. I tried it and it was amazing.
Whenever you're feeling good and hungry, It's skyline time. Gather together with friends and family. It's skyline time. Wholesome, hearty food and a taste that's so divine. Together, at last, it's skyline time. Skyline.
Yes. More of that immediately. No. Give me more. What's this one?
True Bengals fans have certain rituals
Hello.
that happen every week.
Bengals fans.
Over our faces. From the gear we wear to the food we eat.
Yeah, I'm all about it.
Whether you dine in, carry out, or drive through, Skyline is proud to be part of your.
They're trying to rebrand? What's happening here? No, go back to your classic jingle. Yeah.
When Skyline time? Noon. That's Skyline time.
At noon.
At night, coming home from her place.
You're kidding.
It's Skyline time.
It's a chilly October in Cincinnati, and now through October 17th, you can get cheese conies for just 89 cents each at participating Skyline Chili restaurants.
Together, at last, it's Skyline time.
Oh my god. I wanna go get Skyline in chilly October. It's crazy.
I've gotta have my Skyline three-way. There's nothing else like it.
Me too.
That spaghetti, chili, and cheese. I can't wait. And at Skyline, I don't have to. Here it comes now.
Here's your three ways.
Wow, that was fast. Now
I love getting three-ways at Skyline.
Together, at last, it's Skyline time.
You guys will never understand what it was like growing up singing these commercials every day.
We're back at Skyline to see what it is that makes people feel so good. Are you guys regulars here?
Oh, absolutely. He's been going a couple times a week since he was 1.
After a long day at work and we'd had a stressful day, then we come and it's just like, it's awesome.
It's delicious every time I come here.
I introduced all my friends to Skyline because they had never been here.
The cheese conies just blew me away.
Once you come here a few times, you just know what your favorite is and you don't even have to look at the menu anymore. It's a good experience when you come here.
Feeling good. It's Skyline time.
This is the place friendships are made.
That makes people feel so good. So what's brought you to Skyline today?
Oh, the conies. It looks obviously the conies. I love conies.
You feel like you know everyone when you open the door.
This is a place friendships are made. Great food, great service, great people.
Anytime you ask the kids, where do you guys want to eat at Skyline?
It's delicious. The cheese melts in your mouth. Anytime that I don't have to cook, that's always a good thing.
You never have a bad meal at Skyline, ever.
Feeling good. It's Skyline time. We're back at Skyline to see what it is that makes people feel so good. Why do you like coming to Skyline?
The staff is nice, just everybody's smiling and makes me feel good.
If I order the cheese conies, the chili gets into the bread, the bun itself. They're heaven.
I like the
Oh yeah.
to make it. It's always hot, fresh, served quick.
You know it's always going to be perfect. You know it's always going to taste great.
Everyone's inviting, they sit you down with crackers and you just feel like you're meant to be here.
Feeling good. It's Skyline time.
Chad, are you hungry yet?
We're back at Skyline to see what it is that makes people feel so good. So who here loves Skyline?
I do.
Daniel and I come to Skyline every Saturday morning for the past 7 years.
It's great quality. It feels like home.
They're really welcoming and they always know my order.
Just cut it until you got it cut all the way through. And then you have...
And you've got a bite right there. Okay.
It's just so good.
It is so good.
Feeling good. It's Skyline time.
And who is this guy? that? It could have been me. Why do they just have me?
To see what it is
They
that
could
makes
have me
people
do
feel
these
so
commercials.
good. You guys have a lot of options. Why choose Skyline?
Skyline for us, we've got a busy family, and it's one place that we can all agree upon.
The food is great. It's always fresh. It's always hot.
What do you have here? It's the buffalo chicken wrap. There's a ton of chicken in it, lettuce.
Same, Tacito. I did just see it, but I could totally go for some Skyline. I bought 2 Skyline dinners today. I got 2 frozen chili in the freezer right now, waiting for me later.
Feeling good. It's Skyline time.
All right, back to our boring debate. Let's see what's going on.
We know that thanks to Kamala Harris 3.5 years ago. But what do we do about the schools? What do we do to protect our kids? And I think the answer is, and I say this not loving the answer, because I don't want my kids to go to school in a school that feels unsafe or where there are visible signs of security. But
What do you mean a Skyline chat prompt? We have one. Maybe something's for the dolphin.
We've got to make the windows stronger.
The sended Skyline emoji.
Because the idea that we can magically wave a wand and take guns out of the hands of bad guys just doesn't always make the experience safer. I think we've got to have some common sense bipartisan solutions for how to do that.
Always on. Try Skyline. Try it.
Oh, wait.
17-year-old and he witnessed a shooting at a community center playing volleyball. Those things don't leave you. As a member of Congress, I sat in my office surrounded by dozens of the Sandy Hook parents, and they were looking at my 7-year-old picture on the wall. Their 7-year-old were dead, and they were asking us to do something. And look, I'm a hunter. I own firearms. The vice president is.
That's so close, Tacito. Wait, what?
But our first responsibility,
dude, go tomorrow.
We've enacted
Make the trip. That's not that far. I used to drive that far every weekend to see my girlfriend.
But here's the problem.
For years.
We've got folks that won't allow research to be even done on gun violence. And this idea...
I even drove back and forth a couple nights
Here's what I do think.
during arguments. I drove that distance like 4 times in one night.
I believe that Senator Vance...
Not a big deal at all. You can make it, Tacito.
And it breaks your heart. I agree with that. But that's not...
I would love if it was that close to me, I would have been gone.
In Finland, and seen some Finnish schools. They don't have this happen. Even though they have a high...
Hell yeah, Tacito. Go for me.
There are reasonable things that we can do.
Give me some merch.
It's not infringing on your Second Amendment. And the idea to have some of these weapons out there, it just doesn't make any sense. Kamala Harris, as an attorney general, worked on this issue. She knows that it's there. No one's trying to scaremonger and say we're taking your guns, but I ask all of you out there, do you want your schools hardened to look like a fort?
Oh my god, the Orlando one opened right when I moved. Literally right when I moved, dude. I wanted to go so bad.
Practicing these types
when I get back to Florida, I'm actually gonna go.
These are things that shouldn't be that difficult. You can still keep your firearms, and we can make a difference. We have to.
They really are incredible. It really does taste good.
Senator.
Tim, first of all, I didn't know that your 17-year-old witnessed a shooting, and I'm sorry about that, and I hope that he's doing okay. Christ have mercy. It is awful. And I appreciate what Tim said actually about Finland, because I do think it illustrates some of the, frankly, unique differences between our own country's gun violence problem and Finland. First of all, we have way higher rates of mental health abuse, or mental health substance abuse. We have way higher rates of depression, way higher rates of anxiety. We unfortunately have a mental health crisis in this country, but I really do think that we need to get to the root cause, because I don't think it's the whole reason why we have such a bad gun violence problem, but I do think it's another driver of the bruh. Especially that affecting our kids, doesn't have as many headlines, but is the terrible gun violence problem in a lot of our big cities. And this is why we have to address it.
Do you suffer from a lack of a father figure?
Senator, thank you. Governor, you previously opposed an assault weapons ban, but only later in your political career did you change your position. Why?
Yeah, I sat in that office with those Sandy Hook parents. I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it. Look, the NRA, I was an NRA guy for a long time. They used to teach gun safety. I'm of an age where my shotgun was in my car so I could pheasant hunt after football practice. That's not where we live today. And several things I want to mention on this is talking about...
They say he's become friends with school shooters? Wait, what?
Where the most firearm deaths happen in Minnesota are rural suicides. And we have an epidemic of children getting guns and shooting themselves. And so we have and we should look at all of the issues. Making sure folks have health care and all that, but I want to be very careful. This idea of stigmatizing mental health, just because you have a mental health issue doesn't mean you're violent. And I think what we end up doing is we start looking for a scapegoat. Sometimes it just is the guns. It's just the guns. And there are things that you can do about it. But I do think that this is one, and I think this is a healthy conversation. I think there's a capacity.
Yo, they got Skyline burritos now? Wait, what?
Protect Second Amendment, protect our children. That's our priority.
Gentlemen, thank you. Margaret? Thank you, Nora. Let's turn now to the top contributor to inflation, the high cost of housing and rent. There's a shortage of more than 4 million homes in the United States, and that contributes to the high housing prices. Governor Walz, the Harris campaign promises a $25,000
Cholito sounds amazing
assistance for first-time home buyers and a $10,000 tax credit. They also promise to build 3 million new homes. Where are you building these homes, and won't handing out that kind of money just drive up prices higher?
No, it's not handing out. We have, first, let me say this issue of housing, and I think those of you listening on this, the problem we've had is that we've got a lot of folks that see housing as another commodity. It can be bought up, it can be shifted, it can be moved.
Kojima, the adults are speaking right now.
Those of you listening tonight, that house is a big deal. I bought and owned one house in my life. My mom still lives in the house where I was. And when I think of a house, I'm thinking of Christmas services after midnight mass where you go with your family.
You're such a
we need to make it more affordable.
T-Weezo, thank you so much for the waiting frog.
Real gift goal hours.
Pushing forward.
Thank you guys for hitting that gift goal. Let's go.
From that lead, we in the state invested in making sure housing was the biggest investment that we'd ever made in housing. It starts to make it easier. We cut some of the red tape. Local folks, look, we can't do it at the federal level, but local folks make it easier to build those homes. And then that down payment assistance. I can tell all of you out there, certainly for me, using the GI Bill was one thing, but a veteran's home loan, the big thing about a veteran's home loan is you don't have to pay the down payment. Those are things that make it there. Now, look, you're going to pay it back. And you're going to pay your mortgage. Those are things that we know in the long run, the appreciated value, the generational wealth that's created from it. And I will give Minneapolis an example.
Aw, Nightmare.
One city where we've seen the lowest.
Nightmare, thanks for the heart, me.
A 12% increase.
Nightmare, I got a stream key.
Things in, and
I got a stream key. I'm streaming off Streamlabs now. I don't need to use TikTok Studio anymore. This is so much better.
People with stable housing end up with stable jobs. People with stable housing.
It doesn't run up my entire CPU to stream anymore. I'm only at 67% of my CPU now.
And that's the thing that I think we should be able to find some common ground in, but we can't.
So I'm all fluid and crisp.
Immigrants for the only reason. That's not the case that's happening in many cities. The fact of the matter is that we don't have enough naturally affordable housing, but we can make sure that the government's there to help kickstart it, create that base.
Governor, your time is up. Senator Vance, as far as your campaign's position, the promise is to seize federal lands.
Thanks, Nightmare.
Remove regulation, provide tax breaks, and cut back on immigration, which you say pushes up prices. Where are you going to build all the new homes you're promising, and what part of any of this plan will provide immediate relief? You have 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, Tim just said something that I agree with. We don't want to blame immigrants for higher housing prices, but we do want to blame Kamala Harris for letting in millions of illegal aliens into this country, which does drive up costs. 25 million illegal aliens competing with Americans for scarce homes is one of the most significant drivers of home prices in the country. It's why we have massive increases in home prices that have happened right alongside massive increases in illegal alien populations under Kamala Harris's leadership. Now, Tim just mentioned a bunch of ideas. Now, some of those ideas I actually think are halfway decent, and some of them I disagree with. But the most important thing here is Kamala Harris is not running as a newcomer to politics. She is the sitting vice president. If she wants to enact all of these policies to make housing more affordable, I invite her to use the office that the American people already gave her, not sit around and campaign and do
Pizza Broken, thanks for the 1,011 likes.
Completely unaffordable. Now you asked, Margaret, what would immediately change the equation for American citizens if you lowered energy prices? As Donald Trump says, drill baby drill, one of the the biggest drivers of housing costs aside from illegal immigration is, think about it, if a truck driver's paying 40% more for diesel, then the lumber who's delivering to the job site to build a house is also going to become a lot more expensive. If we open up American energy, you will get immediate pricing relief for American citizens, not, by the way, just in housing, but in a whole host of other economic goods, too.
Senator Vance, you still have 23 seconds there. Do you want to answer where? Governor, we will get to you in a moment, but Senator, where are you going to seize the federal lands? Can you clarify?
Well, the Donald Trump has said we have a lot of federal lands that aren't being used for anything. They're not being used for national parks. They're not being used, and they could be places where we build a lot of housing. And I do think that we should be opening up building in this country. We have a lot of land that could be used. We have a lot of Americans that need homes. We should be kicking out illegal immigrants who are competing for those homes, and we should be building more homes for the American citizens who deserve to be here.
Senator, your time is up. Governor, I do want to let you respond to the allegation that the vice president is letting in.
Well, of course, that's not true. And again, you have the facts. I guess we
prices.
agreed not to fact check. I'll check it. That, look, crossings are down compared to when Donald Trump left office. But it's, again,
That's J.D. Vance, by the way.
and not trying
Just
to
so you
find
know.
solution. I was going to ask, though, on this question, are we going to drill
In
into
their
the
younger
houses in
days.
the same federal land? And I think when people hear federal lands, these are really important pieces of land. Now, Minnesota doesn't have a lot of federal lands. I know in the western part of the countries we do. There's not a lot of federal lands in and around Minneapolis, for example. So the issue is I don't understand the federal lands issue unless we see this, and I worry about this as someone who cares deeply about our national parks and our federal lands. Look, Minnesota, we protect these things. We've got about 20% of the world's fresh water. These lands protect. They're there for a reason. They belong to all of us. But again, this is when you view housing and you view these things as commodities. Like, there's a chance to make money here. Let's take this federal land and let's sell it to people for that. I think there's better ways to do this. We've seen it in Minnesota. We're able to refurbish some of these houses. We're able to make some investments. That gets people in. And I'm still on the fact on this. Economists, Senator Vance, you said you don't like the economists. Which economists are saying that it is immigrants that's adding to the cost?
Governor,
Where's
your
the study?
time is up. But Senator, on that point, I'd like for you to clarify. There are many contributing factors to high housing costs. What evidence do you have that migrants are part of this problem?
Well, there's a Federal Reserve study that we'll have to share after the debate. We'll put it up on social media, actually, that really drills down on the connection between increased levels of migration, especially housing prices. Now, of course,
Emotional damage.
Get out! Country of explorers. We increasingly have a federal administration that makes it harder to develop our resources, makes it harder to build things, and wants to throw people in jail for not doing everything exactly as Kamala Harris says they have to do. What that means is you have a lot of people who love to build homes.
Why so?
We should get out of this idea of housing as a commodity, but the thing that has made us turn housing into a commodity is giving it away to millions upon millions of people who have no legal right to do it.
I deal with this as a governor.
You can very quickly reply.
I'm sorry. I get this as a governor, and I don't necessarily disagree with that in some cases, many of those are local, many of them are state. I don't know which ones are federal, but I think whenever we talk regulations, people think they can get rid of them. I think you want to be able to get out of your house in a fire. I think you want to make sure that it's fireproof and those types of things. So which are the regulations? Because the vice president's not responsible for those. Congress writes those.
We're back
Governor,
at Skyline
thank
to see
you,
what it is
gentlemen.
that makes people feel so good.
We have
So
a
who
lot
here
to get
loves
to. You're
Skyline?
passionate about the housing crisis.
Daniel and I
can
come to
tell.
Skyline
But Nora,
every Saturday morning for
One
the
of the
past
top
7
problems
years.
facing
Great quality.
Americans
It
is
feels
the
like
high
home.
cost
They're
of
really
health care.
welcoming,
Senator
and
Vance,
they always
at the
know
last
my order.
presidential debate,
cut it
former
till
President
you
Trump
got
was
it cut
asked
all
about
the way
replacing
through.
the Affordable Care Act.
And then you
In
have-
response, he
You got a buy
said,
right there? Okay.
I have
This is so
concepts
good.
of a plan. Since then, Senator, you've talked
Feeling
about
good?
changing
It's
how
Skyline time.
chronically ill Americans get health insurance. Can you explain how that would work? And can you guarantee that Americans with pre-existing conditions won't pay more? I'll give you
We're
2
back at
minutes.
Skyline to see what it is that makes people feel so good.
You guys have a lot of options. Why choose Skyline?
Skyline for us, we've got a busy family, and it's one place that we can all agree upon.
The food is great. It's always fresh. It's always hot.
What do you have here?
It's the buffalo chicken. There's a ton of chicken in it, lettuce and tomatoes, and this buffalo sauce is really good.
And it's the best.
I'll have a wrap now? What?
Like the conies a lot.
The cheese and the chili and the hot dog just blends together so well.
Give me a three-way, I'm good to go.
Feeling good. It's Skyline time.
Standing on a debate stage, it would bore everybody to tears, and it wouldn't actually mean anything because part of this is the give and take of bipartisan negotiation. Now, when Donald Trump was actually president, and again,
Whenever you're feeling good and hungry, it's Skyline time. Gather together with friends and family. It's Skyline time. Wholesome, hearty food and a taste that's so refined. Together at last.
you try to buy something, and
What do you mean, chili on spaghetti? Yeah!
Feeling good and hungry? They call it Skyline time, but I call it Showtime. We make everything fresh, hot, fast. Well, it goes from my steam table to your table in just a couple of minutes' time. And we've been doing it that way for our family and friends for over 60 years. It's our passion, and we take pride in every plate we serve.
President of the United States. And I think you can make a really good argument that it salvaged Obamacare, which was doing disastrously until Donald Trump came along. And I think this is an important point about President Trump. Of course, you don't have to agree with everything that President Trump has ever said or ever done, but when Obamacare was crushing under the weight of its own regulatory burden and health care costs,
My friend Maddie's little brother Mac was always on me, just hounding me to try Skyline.
Who's this guy?
Jay, try Skyline. Jay, try Skyline. I'm a little picky, so it took a while for him to really get me to go. One day we went, he got his food. He's like, can you try it? Just please try it. I tried it, and it was amazing. If it wasn't for him,
Wait, what?
I would never have tried Skyline. All right, Mac, let's go get some more.
The ACA. And the reason it was so important is I come from a major...
Wait, there's an extended edition of this commercial? Yo, hold on, fuck that. Fuck the debate. Hold on, did we just get an answer to, like, what we've been wondering this whole time? Is there more lore? When did this drop? Oh my god, this is 5 years ago. What? Jay and Mac? First of all, this looks like a different kid altogether from this angle. Like, who is this? Who is this person right here? It's just extended. Even he's looking at this kid like, I don't know this man. But we needed to shoot extended footage because Moxie was complaining about the commercial. They just like pretended this came out 5 years ago by like changing the upload date. But like, no way, this was not there. We looked before together. We couldn't find this anywhere.
My friend Maddie's little brother Mac was always on me, just hounding me to try Skyline. Jay, try Skyline. Jay.
Yeah, that is not the same kid. This is not the same kid. That is a totally different person right here. Who is this? Who is this kid?
My friend Maddie's little brother Mac was always on me, just hounding me to try Skyline. Jay, try Skyline. Jay, try Skyline. My friend Maddie's little brother was always on me to try Skyline. I tried it, and it was amazing. I'm a little picky, so it took a while for him to really get me to go. One day we went, he got his food. He's like, can you try it? Just please try it. I tried it, and it was amazing. If it wasn't for him, I don't know if I would never try Skyline. All right, man.
Running came the whisper from each lip, and he's here to do some business with a big iron on his hip. Big iron on his hip.
My friend Maddie's little brother Mac was always on me, just hounding me to try Skyline. Jay, try Skyline. Jay, try Skyline. I'm a little picky, so it took a while for him to really get me to go. One day we went, he got his food. He's like, can you try it? Just please try it. I tried it, and it was amazing. If it wasn't for him, I don't know if I would ever have tried Skyline. All right, Mac, let's go get some more.
Why do you say it like he's exacerbated? He's just like, all right, Mag, a lot of bread. Let's go get some more, I guess. Oh my god, we've had so much Skyline, Mac. Please stop. I mean, there's more to the story now, you know. But we never did get to see his friend Maddie. You know, does his friend Maddie actually exist? Where did this come from? How did it all happen? Wait, is there more? I want more. I seek more Skyline chili. That's all I want.
Hi.
Training video? Let's go.
So you want to learn how to work the steam table. I'm Angela.
Yes, I do.
And today we're going to show you the many ways of Skyline chili.
Skyline's a great place
Oh,
to work,
yeah.
right, Angela?
Yeah, once you know your way around.
Hey, Angela, did you know that Skyline sells over 8 million ways a year?
Wow, it sounds like we ought to get started showing you.
8 million ways? Yeah, I want that shirt.
Here's Mary.
We're gonna open our own Skyline chat.
Where do you think she's headed?
Well, I know something about Mary. She's heading to the first
bathroom.
place we all go after clocking in. The hand sink.
The
Before
bathroom.
beginning any food preparation, employees must always wash and sanitize their hands. At Skyline, we're really committed to serving customers safe food. The bacteria and germs on your hands can cause people to
Is
get
she
sick.
brushing her hand
So
with
wash
the
and
brush?
sanitize.
There's a
Let's do
hand
it.
brush there?
Look, it's almost Skyline time.
Just do it.
Let's see what Mary's doing to make sure the
Oh my
register is
god, it
empty.
looks so good.
First things first. She's bringing out a bucket of fresh sanitizer water and clean towels. Since we make the food
Chat, we're getting
right before
trained.
customers' eyes, we need to keep the area clean and sanitized. Next,
A nail brush.
clean dishes on both sides of the table and make sure carryout containers are within arm's reach. Then, Mary double checks that all the food is ready and in its proper place on the table. Onions, cheese, chili, spaghetti, and beans should be stocked and ready for making ways. Be certain that you have the proper utensils in each product: an 8-ounce chili ladle, spaghetti forks, a bean spoon, a 6-ounce ladle,
Bean
and
spoon.
spoons in the onions. During slow periods, cover the cheese, chili crocks, and spaghetti crocks with lids to maintain quality and temperature. We don't cover the beans
Crocks.
because that would make them mushy.
Hey, it looks like we're about
You don't
ready.
want mushy
But
beans.
don't forget about stocking backup products so that we don't have to leave the steam table area during the rush.
Yeah, that would leave you some
Steam table.
stress.
My
Stock
friend
backup
Maddie's
cans
little
of
brother
cheese and
was
onions
always
in the
on me
nearest
to try
region.
Skyline. I tried it.
Hey, some weird mail came for bebop bebop.
And let's not forget about backup pans of spaghetti. Make sure they're 3/4 full and covered before placing them in the region closest to the steamer. And check that there is backup spaghetti in the steamer when you're expecting a rush. Just a few more things. Since cheese tends to clump during storage, fluff it.
No wonder
when
that
bringing
shit
it to
comes
the
out
table.
so fast every
And speaking
time.
of
It's
cheese,
always ready.
Now that your stock work is done, want to practice some Michael Jordans?
Practicing his technique and accuracy made Michael Jordan a legend. Practicing your technique and accuracy with cheese
Michael
will make
Jordan,
your
wow.
product the Skyline legend that it is. If it worked for Michael Jordan, it'll work for us. Practice makes perfect. And now for a recap. To get ready for a rush, you need to bring sanitizer water, stock dishes, stock carryout containers, stock the steam table, place utensils, cover product, place backup product, fluff cheese, and practice, practice, practice. Got it? Good. And now
Okay, I'm done.
Presentation.
A Skyline
Chili guy.
three-way has spaghetti, but it's not Italian. It has chili, but it's not from Texas. It has cheese, but it's not Swiss. It is, however, served from China.
Skyline, Cincinnati style chili.
Yeah, that joke would
So
not
here's how
fly
it
today.
tastes so good. Matt?
For dine-in orders, pull a regular way plate and hold it firmly as shown. Pick up the spaghetti fork so it lies across the fingers of your open hand. Place your thumb on the handle near the prongs.
That'll give you better control when you portion the spaghetti.
Using the fork, pull the hottest spaghetti from the underside of the product. Lift the spaghetti above the crock and position the plate under the spaghetti as shown.
Notice, as I make my products, that I always keep my plate over the crock of the product that I'm portioning.
Now, lower the fork to the center of the plate. Then, press firmly against the bottom of the plate and wiggle as you pull the fork straight off the edge
Wiggle,
of the plate.
wiggle, wiggle.
Use the back of the fork to spread the spaghetti so that it's full and level to the rim of the plate, and to scrape off any spaghetti hanging over the edge.
Hangers gotta go if you want it to look neat.
If you find yourself a little short on the spag, add some additional strands to fill in the bare
On the
spot.
spag.
Now
Yo, you ever find yourself a little short on this spag?
Chili.
Hold the 6-ounce chili ladle down the handle like you hold a pencil. Not too far down or it gets real hot. Stir the product in a circular motion, bottom to top.
You can't be sure on the
Position
spag,
the
no
plate
way.
above the crock. and lift a full ladle over the top of the plate.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Dropping your wrist,
God.
ladle of chili down and away from you
Ah,
over
fuck
the
you,
spaghetti.
D-Ball. I'm trying to see this ladle.
The faster you drop,
there we
the
go.
further it spreads. If any chili remains in the ladle, use it to touch up the bare spaghetti spots. We call that the drop wrist method.
While we pros call it slinging chili.
Drop wrist method?
The chili should cover all spaghetti noodles except a thin edge at the rim. Now,
hang on, I gotta see that. I gotta see that.
The ladle. Use
Run that back. What's the drop wrist method?
Stir the product in a circular motion, bottom to top.
I have to know this. Why I make it myself.
And lift a full ladle over the top of the plate. Dropping your wrist, ladle of chili down and away from you over the spaghetti. The faster you drop, the further it spreads. If any chili remains in the ladle, use it to touch up the bare spaghetti spots. We call that the drop wrist method.
While we pros call it slinging chili.
When finished, the chili should
pros
cover
call
all
it slinging chili.
except a thin edge at the rim. Now, place the plate up against the cheese pan and gently fluff the cheese. Using both hands,
fluffy
pick up
cheese.
an oval mound of cheese.
And don't squeeze the cheese.
Now for the finale. Carefully place the
I'll
cheese
kill
oval
you.
on the product so it forms a dome, while leaving a thin edge of spaghetti and chili showing. Place the product directly onto a serving tray for immediate delivery to the guest. Hey, I can see it has 3 layers.
Well, after all, it is a 3-way.
Wow.
Remember the keys to making a perfect 3-way. Use the hottest spaghetti. Spread the
That's a
spaghetti
big part
to
of it,
rim
Casito.
level
They
and
load
edge
you
to
up on
edge.
cheese.
Always stir the chili.
Edge to edge.
Down to the last drop, and top it with a dome of fluffed cheddar cheese. 3 distinct layers of great taste.
Cheese.
What about our customers?
He said
with smaller
cheese.
appetites? How about a small 3-way?
Yeah, same great taste, less filling. The small
So
3-way
definitely
is
has
made
braces.
the same as the regular way. The key difference is that we use half as much. Now, as Angela makes a small 3-way, see if you can point out what makes her technique so great. Okay, Angela, take it away.
Right, chat. Whoa, this music's crazy. You got like they put jungle on this? Whoa, I'm gonna sample this. New intro music just dropped.
Hey, Faye! Some weird mail came for Bebop Bebop.
Bro, that took her way too fucking long to make a small Wait a minute. That was... Dude, did it take her a full 2 minutes to make that shit? Are you kidding me? There's no way that it takes that long. I could have made like 50 small 3-ways in that time. Yo, man, that was so easy in the 90s.
Well, that small 3-way certainly wouldn't be enough for you.
You bet, Angela. I always eat the large.
I'm a fast. I want more.
Really, Matt, it's not a lot different. Just a bigger portion on a bigger plate. Watch. I'll show you the difference.
Please come back with the music.
Large whey plate and spread the spaghetti
Damn it.
slightly above the rim's edge. Take a closer look. Then, top it with an 8-ounce ladle of chili. I go for full coverage with the drop wrist method and use what's left over for touch-ups. And then, I cover it with a larger oval of cheese. It's on its way, the large 3-way.
That is the Skyline chili, yes.
Let's look at some other ways our customers eat their chili.
He ate the plate and everything.
It's a 3-way.
Ew, 4-way.
Onions or red beans.
I don't want onions.
Notice we put the beans on the spaghetti, then add the chili.
Beans.
Be careful not to drag the ladle, or you'll lose your beans. Here's how we add the onions. Hold the onion spoon with your thumb on the handle near the bottom. For a small 4-way onion, dump 1 heaping spoonful on the chili. For a regular 4-way, dump 2 heaping spoonfuls, 1 at each end. And for a large 4-way, dump 3 heaping spoonfuls, 1 at each end and 1 in the middle. Spread
if you like onions, and I'm sure you'd like it, for me, I feel like it ruined the taste.
Customer gets the full flavor of the 4-way onion in every bite. Finish by topping off with the ovals of cheddar cheese.
Now, here's the scoop on how we add the beans. Start with a plate of spaghetti and add as follows.
Beans.
Hold the bean spoon slightly down the handle. When adding beans, always lift them from the
Yeah, I can't eat onions, especially raw onions like that. I can't do raw onions. I don't want that crunch. Yeah, I don't want that crunch in my 3-way either. I like it to be nice and soft.
Notice how the beans are dumped in a sweeping motion away from you, and how the back of your spoon is used.
But that's the thing about Cincinnati chili. Like, there's a way to eat it for everybody, no matter what your background is, no matter what kind of taste palette you have.
And cheese.
Like, there's a way for you.
What about
a 4-way bean? I never tried the 4-way bean.
If they want it with the word.
Bean onion's a 5-way.
A 5-way is made just like the 4-way bean. Spaghetti, bean, chili, then we add onions using the 1-2-3 portioning method, and top it off with a mound of cheddar cheese. As always, place a finished product on a serving tray for immediate delivery to the customer.
That's the final boss of Skyline right there.
Let's see how much you learned. If you get an order for a 4-way, would you top it with A, bean, or B, onion? If you said
depends.
Onion, you were right. We always assume a 4-way is topped with
Real-life
onion
goal hours.
unless the server calls or the screen says bean. A small way contains what portion of a regular way? A, half the amount. B, 3/4 of the amount. The correct answer is A. A small way contains half the amount of each ingredient in a regular way.
You missed the video. You're on your thought. You started shifting around. What did they say?
Relates to
They just told us how to make a chili dish.
Product on a tray. B, how you portion beans for small, regular, and large ways. C, how you portion onions for small, regular, and large ways. And the right answer is C. Remembering how to portion onions is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1 heaping spoonful for a small, 2 for a regular, and 3 for a large. Now for the final question. When portioning
Drop wrist method.
you should use the hottest spaghetti and spread it on the plate. A, edge to edge. B, rim to rim. C, level. Gotcha. The answer is
Edge
A,
to edge.
B, and C. You should always spread
Oh
spaghetti
shit!
level,
Fuck,
edge
he
to
got
edge,
me.
and rim to rim. So, are you finding your way around?
Stop the video and practice with your train coach.
Let's go on and take a look at some variations to our standard 3, 4, and 5 ways. You know, Angela, sometimes our customers want us to hold the cheese. For them, we serve up our chili and spaghetti dish. It's slightly heavier on the spaghetti so that it's filling.
Oh my god, I forgot to get fucking cheese for my fucking Skyline.
Portion a bit heavier, making it a slightly rounded plateful. Then, cover it with a ladle of our secret recipe chili. And if the customer requests, add onions, beans, or both.
I think I've still got some cheese left. Damn, dude.
Say, Matt.
Gross. Why would you want it without cheese?
Respond to so many special requests.
At Skyline, we do whatever it takes to give the customers what they want. So quite simply, the answer is yes. What's the question?
With that in mind, can you tell us how to make a juicy?
Yes, absolutely. Start with a plate of portioned spaghetti. Lift the ladle without stirring the chili. Then skim the top until you get a full ladle of mostly juice. Next, outline the spaghetti around the edge of the plate, using about 3/4 of the ladle. Use what's left over to cover the remaining.
Oh my god, wait, that's a thing?
Place
I
on a
want
liner and
juicy.
finish
Can you
topping.
imagine saying that to a
Juicy way.
server?
More of the tasty juices.
Can I get it the juicy way?
Like this dish should always be served with a
With
dip.
more of the tasty juices,
What about
please?
customers who love the great taste of our chili, but with less of the juices?
They would ask for a dry, of course. This is how you make the dry way. Prepare the product as usual, up to and including
I actually make it the dry way at home.
Procedures to drain the juices. Place the plate at an angle in a chili bowl. While the juices drain, continue making other products. Or poke the product several times with a fork so that the juices drain to the bottom of the plate. Then use the fork to lift the spaghetti at one end.
Yo, I'm gonna try that.
The juices drain back into the crock. Make sure you take your time to drain thoroughly, just the way the customer wants it. After the juices have drained, use the fork to move the product back in place. If you use the bowl method for draining, lift the plate and shift ingredients back into place. Pour the juices immediately back into the chili crock and place the bowl in a bus tub. Finish topping as requested.
Bus tub.
Some folks just can't get enough of our great tasting chili. For them, extra chili is the way to go.
So how do you add extra chili to any of our whey products?
To add extra chili, we first prepare it the same way as a dry, draining off the juices. Then, no matter which size we're making,
Fuck, I forgot to put the towels in the dryer again.
Product on a liner. Finish
Damn it.
topping, and off it goes.
Matt, did your mom ever talk to you about putting the cart before the horse?
Okay, we're not gonna continue watching this. Is it a bay over yet?
Home to medical scene. And it manifested itself because
No, it's still going.
inability to say. He is still saying he didn't lose the election. I would just ask that. Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
That is a damning non-answer.
It's a damning non-answer for you to not talk about censorship. Obviously, Donald Trump and I think there were problems in 2020. We've talked about it. I'm happy to talk about it further. But you guys attacked us for not believing in democracy. The most sacred right under the United States democracy is the First Amendment. You yourself have said there's no First Amendment right to misinformation. Kamala Harris wants to use the power of government and big tech to silence people from speaking their minds. That is a threat to democracy that will long outlive this present political moment. I would like Democrats and Republicans to both reject censorship. Let's persuade one another. Let's argue
Oh
about
God,
ideas
yeah, let's just go up here and say propaganda. Fascist
That's the test.
love free speech.
Fire in a crowded theater. You guys want
They love the First Amendment.
for saying that toddlers shouldn't
Senator,
wear
the governor
masks.
does
Because that means they can just dog whistle all day long.
Is criticizing the policies of the government, which is the right of every American.
Senator, the governor does have the floor for 1 minute to respond to you.
I don't run Facebook. What I do know is I see a candidate out there who refused, and now again, and this I'm pretty shocked by this. He lost the election. This is not a debate. It's not anything anywhere other than in Donald Trump's world. Because look, when Mike Pence made that decision to certify that election, that's why Mike Pence isn't on this stage. What I'm concerned about is, where is the firewall with Donald Trump? Where is the firewall if he knows he could do anything, including taking an election, and his vice president's not going to stand to it? That's what we're asking you, America. Will you stand up? Will you keep your oath of office, even if the president doesn't? And I think Kamala Harris would agree. She wouldn't have picked me if she didn't think I would do that, because of course that's what we would do. So America, I think you've got a really clear choice on this election of who's going to honor that democracy and who's going to honor Donald Trump.
Governor, your time is up. Thank you, gentlemen. We will be right back with both of our candidates. The CBS News vice presidential debate continues.
Some weird mail came for Bebop Bebop.
On our places, bright shiny faces.
When you wake up in the morning, we want to be your go-to team. Nate has one of the quickest minds I've ever seen.
Tony has a way of making people feel comfortable.
Gail has this unbelievable knack to ask the question that you're asking at home.
I've been told I could talk to a tree, and that's pretty much true.
I don't go to work in the morning. I go for coffee with my two good friends, and we talk about the world.
Your morning routine just got better. CBS Mornings, weekdays at 7.
It didn't seem like anything could happen, because nothing ever happens in East Palestine, but it did.
Authorities released toxic fumes from 5 derailed train cars.
Resident, please evacuate.
Acute bronchitis due to chemical fumes.
Did you ever have these problems before the derailment?
No, ma'am.
This neighborhood's not safe no more.
We can assure the community that there's not vinyl chloride entering their communities.
Then why are there so many people feeling these various symptoms of bloody noses or difficulty breathing, bronchitis?
That's a hard question to answer.
We're talking about one of the most blatant releases of a mixture of some of the most toxic chemicals that we've seen in America.
I feel like now I have a duty to warn other communities. If my daughter has to watch me die of cancer, at least it saves someone else. This case.
It's like a screenplay, something straight out of Hollywood.
But it's not fiction. It's 48 hours.
Human remains found this week.
4 families shattered.
There's no physical evidence.
The mystery would haunt investigators for years.
There's some questions that have to be asked and need to be answered.
Like a John Grisham novel.
A gripping true crime original. 48 hours. Now streaming on the free CBS News app.
Stories that inform.
You can be really old at 60, and you can be really young at 85.
Inspire.
How do we unlock the power within ourselves to be who we want to be?
And brighten your day.
The best part of fame is making people feel good. Always send the people home happy.
Make every day a little more like Sunday morning.
Here comes the sun.
Stream now on the free CBS News app.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Dragon capsule here in space.
Sightseers in space, the thrill of a lifetime.
Seeing the Earth from space is so exhilarating.
But the risks that come with the territory.
There have been 4 fatal accidents. That's a 1% fatal accident rate.
Might make you look before you launch.
If you had 1 out of 100 airplanes falling out of the sky, we'd have a public crisis.
Space tourism, now streaming on the free CBS News app.
She's the first black woman on the Supreme Court, and she's determined she won't be the last.
My parents had raised me to believe that I could do anything I wanted to do.
Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson on Person to Person.
It's like a screenplay, something straight out of Hollywood.
Human remains found this week.
There's some questions that have to be asked and need to be answered.
A gripping true crime original. 48 hours. Now streaming on the free CBS News app.
Okay, I'm bored. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go get some food, and I'm gonna come back, and we're gonna stream some Siege. So, I mean, this debate is everything I knew it would be. It's just an alt-right fascist trying to use his platform to spread more propaganda. Has no intention of actually answering any of the questions he's given. And the other one's just some dad who got roped into all this. But like. Anyways, I'm just gonna vote for Kamala at this point, just because it's the better of the two evils. But you know, whatever. I'll be back, and I'm gonna go get some food in me, and then I'll be back. You guys have a great rest of your evening. Love you guys. These are the cards we're given. That is what it is. Hang in there. Don't let a fascist win. Don't let a crazy, violent fascist who wants to destroy me win. Okay? That's all you gotta do.